Sweet, man. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Nice.
This is the Combat Lab. We've
First one officially.
yeah, it is the official one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have done 2 episodes prior to this.
Yep.
We got the opportunity, obviously, to interview one of our combat athletes and the current featherweight UFC world champion, Alex Volkanovski, in the first episode. And we just had that opportunity and we were like, boom, let's just get it.
Yep.
And then the next day we got Joe Lopez, his coach. So that was the second episode.
Yep.
But this is the first time we've actually sort of like introduced the podcast and just
Definitely
laid it out.
And we'll also include Coiny in that as well.
I don't know if we haven't posted Coinies yet.
No, we haven't.
Oh, you want to post that one before this one?
Nah.
We can post it after.
Yeah, we'll include that as well. Yeah.
We've got a couple up our sleeves, guys, so stay tuned.
Sick.
We've got some quality content coming out.
That's good. Really good. Man, and so with this, I think one of the reason why we wanted to kick this one off as, I guess, the first one officially was almost to talk a bit about where the brand came from, why we did the brand, and basically how our I guess combat community has come together from multiple places. And I think people see this massive gym that's down the road from where we are right now and think that I met you, this gym popped up.
Yep.
And it just came from
Nowhere.
kind of nowhere,
Yep.
but nothing comes from nowhere.
Yep.
It always comes from somewhere, and it always has a history. And particularly in this space, one of the main reasons I wanted to do the podcast this way was because I don't think a lot of people know about your history
Yep.
within martial arts, which was what led me to getting into martial arts and then starting at Apex, and then Apex giving the opportunity to open up combat. You, Jesse, as obviously were involved with that, but prior to that you were involved with so many fighters, so many different gyms.
Mm-hmm.
You had your own brands before
Yep.
anything to do with combat well before that. They were literally just looking at YouTube videos then of MVNT, and man, I'm personally interested to hear more about how even that started. But your martial arts journey started first of all, and then lead into the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think equally as exciting and interesting is for people to hear about your journey in professional sports and product development for some of the biggest brands in the world, and your own brands and your own businesses that you've sold and had success in, and then naturally leading to the fact that we're sitting in an agency.
Yep.
In our marketing agency, which is one of our main businesses, and we have a few businesses, and a lot of our combat community don't really know that.
Yep.
And I think one of the conversations that we've been having so much recently especially with our clients in the agency, and then just talking about combat as a brand specifically, is talking about transparency and talking about authenticity. And I think that that's something that we're really trying to bring to the forefront now, like whether it's on our, social media, just talking a little bit more about behind the scenes stuff. And when we first started the brand, we've got pride. We want to, put out great content. We want to show people this brand that we've created, and, these amazing athlete sort of partnerships that we've created. I mean, we spoke about Alex Volkanovski before. Like, Alex was one of our first athletes. Elliot Compton was one of our first athletes. Like, these are serious players and OGs in the combat game, and so we want to put them at the forefront of our brand.
Yep.
And something that we haven't spent a lot of time doing is talking about our own sort of purpose and position within this whole world and community. And people are starting to see us now, and I think it's like a really good sort of like cycle coming back around, and
For sure.
sharing our stories.
Yep.
People asking about the formulations, why we've come up with certain products that we have. And it's awesome to be able to share the story, your history doing that, my history in sports nutrition from a marketing perspective, and, just being more authentic in that way. But yeah, man, far out. Martial arts has been a part of my life for nearly 11 years. I first started because, similar to, a lot of people, I was probably 19, and it was at that age where we were going out and we were clubbing, and I was out there with the boys, and I had a great group of friends, but it wouldn't be uncommon for them to sort of get in a tussle or something like that in Surfers Paradise here on the Gold Coast. So I was never someone that liked getting into altercations, never started anything myself. You know me, a lot of our combat community know me. Like, I'm all about good vibes, all about having fun with everyone. And I got into a lot of situations where I was like, man, that was close. Like, I could have got really, really banged up there. And I think it got to the point where I was like, I'll never start a fight. But in my head, I personally just wanted to feel like I want to be able to sort of defend myself, or at least end a fight if I was ever pushed into one. Another situation was, because of my like kind nature and my positivity, people didn't really take me seriously. Yeah. And it's a common sort of mistake that a lot of people make in life just in general. Yeah. And so at parties, some of the boys would just, try and rough me around or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm mentally tougher than you, man. Yeah. Like, if I could just have the skills to back it up, like, you wouldn't mistake my kindness for weakness. Yeah. And that was kind of like maybe a pride or an ego issue that I had, or that I was trying to deal with. So I actually walked into Puma, which is Potential Unlimited Mixed Martial Arts here in Berdie, by myself. So for anyone who's walking into a martial arts gym for the first time knows how intimidating it is. I didn't quite mind. I can't remember. I think I felt okay. I think one day I just had some confidence and just walked in.
How did you find them? Like, out of all the gyms?
We were talking about Planet Max. So Planet Max was a bodybuilding and also dabbled in sort of combat sports as well, selling t-shirts and gloves and stuff. Walked in there and asked them, hey, do you know what martial arts gym should I go to? And they had a card and they said, go to Potential Unlimited Mixed Martial Arts. And at that time, Puma had so many guys that were just on the verge of getting into the UFC and heaps of pro boxers. And it was a really, like, it was the go-to place for MMA. Vince Perry was one of the OG sort of MMA guys in Australia, and built a good reputation. And so cool, I went in there, and talking about sort of like intimidation and stuff like that. The first person that walked up to me when I got there was Dylan Andrews, who, for anyone who doesn't know, he was in the UFC and complete OG of mixed martial arts. And I just sort of sat there, and I didn't realize that I was in the pro team session. So there was two warehouses or two sort of like spaces. I was in the pro team session, and he came up and gave me knuckles. He said, hey man, what's up? Welcome. And that was cool. And then I got carted over into the beginners section, and that's where it all started. And loved it, man. Did sort of kickboxing and jiu-jitsu and everything there, and did that for years. And then one of the coaches there left, and I had a strong bond with him. That was Jugs from Full Metal Jiu-Jitsu, and he went and started Full Metal Jiu-Jitsu. I'd done a trip to Japan with him by this stage and spent some time in Japan training. So I kind of made that progression over to Jugs' school. And then he had an MMA school at the time. So still doing a lot of MMA, doing a lot of Jiu-Jitsu. A couple of sort of guys in the UFC right now came and trained with us. And I was getting pretty good at sort of jiu-jitsu at that time, and I was really big on the strategy side of things. So less cared about competition and more just about sort of like the strategy and the thought process behind why you do what you do, and sort of, why people have more success than others in certain situations. So I kind of became that guy that was sort of talking and thinking about strategy and helping people there. I did do a lot of competitions. I did the Australian titles. I got second, white belt, blue belt, won heaps of comps in blue belt, won heaps of comps in purple belt. And then as sort of, people understand and can relate to sort of jiu-jitsu politics, for whatever reason, I decided that Full Metal wasn't for me anymore. And so I moved on. And I had such a strong allegiance to my club at the time that I thought I was just going to quit jiu-jitsu, because I didn't want to go anywhere else. And a couple of the boys, Jesse and Az, felt a similar way. And a couple of months later, they sort of made the same decision to transition from where they were. And the boys reached out, and we were all still connected, and we were just like, man, we can't quit this. Like, this is a part of our lives. It's been a part of our lives for 7 years. we love this. You know, we're coaching people by this stage, doing competitions. It's a part of our life. It's had such a positive impact on us. And then we just decided, hey, let's just open up a space. It'll just be a hobby. We'll just get together and we'll keep sort of progressing our skills and, you know, that sort of thing. And that's when we opened up Apex Training Academy.
Yep.
And, you know, you knowing me, I still wanted it to be a nice space. So, you know, there was 3 of us. So, you know, we had the ability to get a nice space. We probably went too big too soon, and that's just my nature. I was kind of like, let's go. You know, this is a sick sort of place. We're in a fitness hub. And it's basically where we are now, but I'll get to that. But and we started training, and naturally people coming from different places wanted to come and train with us, and we built a really good community. It was always like a hobby business, and at the same time I dabbled in other businesses. I had MVNT, which was a gi company. I started that with Jugs from Full Metal. And that started to do pretty well. We were really ingraining into the jiu-jitsu community, and that was fantastic. And when I left from Jugs, I took that on myself and sort of pushed it as hard as I could. I was a lawyer at the time as well, just to throw that in the mix. And I quit my legal job. So all of a sudden I was kind of doing MVNT full-time. The guys that know me, I won't get into it because it's a big story, but that was a crazy transition in my life, and heaps happened at that stage. And I just decided not to continue with MVNT. It was just too much for me at that stage. I needed more capital to put into the business to keep it going. I wasn't really good at business. I didn't know much about business. So like I sold all of the gis that I had in my inventory, but then didn't sort of keep the money and reinvested into more product or anything like that. So that kind of just fizzled out, which was sad, but it was all part of the journey and a great experience. And then, we started this marketing agency. And there's a lot of steps in between that I've missed, but I'm trying to get through this quickly. And one of the best things that we've ever done. And, it's an agency that specifically deals with sports nutrition brands, food brands, businesses in health, deal with businesses from startups to massive multinational corporations, billion-dollar businesses, and we do all sorts of consulting, product development, and all of that. Brings us to the moment that you started training with us, and I'll let you tell that story, and us having our 5 a.m. sessions, and then feeling that we didn't have a product that was suitable for us, and then it led to obviously combat. But is that kind of like
that's
a little recap?
That's a perfect summary.
Yeah,
because it gives people an understanding, including myself, exactly how something starts, rather than it's like, oh, there's this big gym.
Yeah.
But it started from when you were 19.
Yep.
Feeling you didn't want to be in a vulnerable position because you didn't have the skills.
Yep.
And you wouldn't start confrontation, but you could. Anyone can end up in confrontation. Particularly in today's world. If you walk outside today, we're probably a lot more fortunate than most people in the world, but it's not a safe place. You just look at your social media, and every day it's someone getting attacked in some way for things that are completely out of their control. We live in a really crazy, scary time, which is why the first sport I wanted my kids to do as soon as they were old enough was martial arts.
Yep.
And I've been lucky in my lifetime, I guess, naturally, just from the aspect of where I've grown up, the sports I've done, and blessed with a few genetics that not many people would come instantly and try and pick on someone like me.
Yep.
It's just not... You wouldn't like instantly go up to me and like try to get in some type of confrontation. I'm probably the complete opposite. I'm super nice. Myself don't like getting in any type of physical altercation, but people wouldn't do that simply because football background, athletic background, bigger than most, so tends to keep you away from confrontation. But the thing that I guess through my sporting career and everything like that was always the aspect of I was never 100%. I did get to play professional sports, but I was never 100% just doing that. I was always doing uni, was delivering pizzas if I wasn't at uni. Then I'd go to training of a morning to do weights, and I'd go back in an arvo. But in between that, I may work 4 hours. I may go and obviously study some more to pass exams. My parents always had a massive thing on, no matter what there is in this world, you'll never lose your education. And your education is the thing that's going to be the foundation for everything that you do. It's just an African mentality that I'm really grateful for. So whilst I was playing professional sports, I was signed with the Titans and everything like that, I was always doing uni, which kind of, you would know better than most, becomes mentally and physically draining. So recovery is like massive with everything. If you're not recovering properly, you're always feeling a bit drained, a bit flatter, which you don't get to perform on the weekend as best as you could. So the thing that I always took 100% control of from the time I left home, and my mum was awesome. She was a great cook, but she gave me cooking skills, and unbeknowingly, now that I think about it, gave me a lot of nutrition skills that she wasn't saying, use this and use this and use this in terms of making up, be it a recipe or a product or anything, but she was, by just me interacting in the kitchen with her, making balanced meals and realizing how important that was, that I would eat this food and I'd perform a lot better. But if I didn't eat this food, I would still be okay, but I wasn't as good as what I was the week prior. So I placed a huge importance on nutrition, not only for my physical performance, but my mental performance, to allow me to do all the things that I was trying to do at one given time. And I really strongly believe that's a massive part of why I was able to continue playing sports at a high level to the time period I did, which was when I retired at about 26 I had an ACL injury, and my workload was starting to build more and more and more whilst I was working in body science, and I started realizing that no matter what I do, I will never be a Jonathan Thurston or a Cameron Smith or a Billy Slater. Just, it's not, certain people just have it. I'm good, but I'm not going to be that good. So it's not a case of like giving up, but it's also a case of realizing that at a certain point I ticked that goal. There were so many more goals that I wanted to, and things that I wanted to move on with, that I thought it was time to pack up there. But the thing I took away from that was nutrition was such a strong foundation that allowed me to get there. Because I genuinely believe if I didn't look after myself as well as I was, from the right diet, the right supplements, the right recovery strategies and everything like that, I wouldn't have made it to where I got to. So post-retiring from football, it was like a 2-year to 3-year type of gap of just trying to stay fit, be it running, be it CrossFit, be it just lifting weights, be anything to try and stay fit. But I think anyone in martial arts, anyone from a rugby background, anyone from like a fairly intense type of contact sports realizes there's something that you get from that. You get from rolling with someone or tackling someone or kicking a bag or hitting pads, like a transfer of energy that's almost impossible to replicate, no matter what you try and do. And all sport, I love all sports, but nothing quite replicates that, and nothing quite replicates competition. And the one thing that I've know just born and bred through me is that I like to compete. Like I like, and it's not an unfriendly type of competition, but I like to compete against myself. I like to compete against others, and I like to have a benchmark to see where I can possibly get to. Because if I don't have a benchmark, then I feel like I'm just going in circles, kind of effectively doing nothing. So the first time that I got to see, I guess, jiu-jitsu or a martial arts in action was actually at the Titans, and we had a defensive coach, and the defensive coach brought in Jace Robic.
Absolute beast.
Yeah, from Axes. And this guy came in, really nice guy. You could have, if you saw him straight off the street and he was wearing like a suit and tie, you'd go, this guy could be an accountant. You wouldn't have thought twice about it. Really friendly. And he started showing everyone these hip escapes and all these different types of things, but it wasn't showing any submissions, just showing what you can do to improve position, pin someone, and all these different types of things. So I was like, fuck, this is amazing. There's this 65, 70 kilo dude, whatever he was, that could completely control and dominate me with using minimal effort. And I'm lifting, by this stage, like I'm in peak condition,
yeah.
like benching 150, squatting 210, like doing all these like things that for football standards was great, but go against this guy, I can't move, I can't do anything. So that was interesting.
Tell them the story about one of the boys shaping up
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Well, that was where like I was really got even further intrigued by it, where in a football environment, there's naturally a lot of testosterone, a lot of ego, and a lot of things that get thrown around where none of us could fight. Obviously, we're not trained fighters. People have gone on from football to do combat sports, but whilst we were there, we weren't trained fighters. So it was a weird situation where Jace, and credit to him, he handled everything so well there. But there was a top squad of 30, and we're all doing these wrestling drills and all these different types of things. Jace would sub in to create the extra number. One of the guys thought it would be cool to try and prove himself to get one over the coach / teacher, and not effectively somewhat tried to dog shot him.
Yep.
Like he wasn't looking. He was basically had his back turned, and then like someone was trying to basically insert their authority by saying, "Ha, gotcha," type of thing. And man, Jace reverse sweeped. I think it was actually he like pretty much hip tossed them, then like just got him to mount on them, and pretty much had their arm in like a position. Memory serves me right. It was like a Kimura that he could have just ripped their shoulder out of their socket, and then proceeded to give a speech to the 30 grown men there that were like quivering by this point, going, "This guy's going to kill us all." That if anyone wants to prove themselves, they're welcome to roll up to Axes, being his gym, at any time of the week, any hour, any minute, and they can really find out what this is about.
That's a gangster.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm not going there because this guy will kill me. But yeah, I was like, that was like the first proper introduction to it. So post that, I actually tried to get back to seeing Jace and kept in contact with him because he was such a good guy and a legend and loved his gym and everything. So I got to go back there maybe 3 or 4 times post, but it was just the fact that it was in Southport after finishing footy, had a year of working really hard, starting businesses and doing all that type of stuff. So making a drive just wasn't my priority to get in training that I wasn't familiar with. So I had a kid, and so that kind of put a pause on it. And then as soon as I had the kid, in the lead up to that, me and Brocky had started like doing some pads and kickboxing in a shed, in a mate's shed, just again trying to stay fit. Saw some stuff on YouTube, thought we'd try it out type of thing, and he was showing me heaps of stuff that he had learnt with boxing and stuff like that. So again, just trying to keep fit, but both of us realised we need a coach, but both of us also we virtually start work from 5:36, and then I have a kid as well, and I have these businesses. Where are we possibly going to fit this in over this next type of lifespan? There was no 5 a.m. place. So we went through some weird shit with going to different gyms, like trying to get that sorted. Actually ended up, I won't go into detail of that story, before we went to McSweeney's gym.
Go through it. Yeah, go into the story.
And long story short, it was me and Brocky going there. We thought, kind enough to start a class at 5 a.m. So Brocky met him first, said that I've got a mate, Sel. He wants to do this as well. I want to do this as well. We can't find a 5 a.m. place to get training in. Thought this guy's really cool. He's opening up for us at 5 a.m. Copped the floggings from hell. Like I'm talking.
You guys are just body bags at this stage.
I'm talking just dead. Like some of the body shots and just it was basically Brocky standing to the side, like urging me to survive as I get flogged, I'd get dropped. He'd walk in.
Were they literally just sparring sessions? Did he teach you anything?
No, it was just me and Brocky copping to hiding. That was what we were there for. Just copying shots that, I mean, because we're bigger guys and had a footy background, we have a level of toughness that allows us to just go, get up, throw yourself back in there. But when I look back at that, I just think we were just fucking mental. Yep. Like, what were we even... Why did we keep going back? Like, we were just copying these beatings, but we just loved it so much. Like, we just loved the aspect of we had somewhere to train at 5 a.m., even though it wasn't really training, it was just getting beaten. But neither here nor there. We obviously learned some lessons after a lot of other bullshit went down that I'll get into.
That gym didn't last very long.
Yeah, that I'll get into probably on another podcast. So from that, I was just like, man, I'm done. Like, type of thing. I was like, I'm too busy. I love mixed martial arts. I love watching the UFC on a weekend. But if we can't find somewhere to train that can possibly fit into a morning routine, I can't sacrifice my family, seeing my wife and kid. On top of that, also not earning income, because it would take away from hours within a day. So it was just a given that I was like, cool, I'll get it back downstairs and kick it every now and then, and that'll be it. And so post that, by chance, man, I was going for a run because another thing just to stay fit that I met you.
Yep.
And you were doing a shoot for Body Science at the time. And I was like, met you, brief interaction, but you were doing a shoot and I actually needed a lot of content for the other businesses that I had at the time, which was Biscuit Cafe and Cocoa Whip. And so I knew you were shooting for Body Science, so I hopped on Body Science's social that I hadn't been on in a while. I was like, fuck, this shit looks legit. Like, this is really, really good content. I'm going to reach out. So I obviously reached out to you, not knowing anything about martial arts or anything. That came through just our discussions, and you came and did a shoot at Biscuit with Jake, and the shoot was awesome. And then you did another shoot for Cocoa Whip that was like a video reel for Whole Foods in the States over like a Christmas type of New Year's thing. And during that period of time, I came out with you on that shoot, and you were telling me, I was asking what you were going to do on the weekend, and you mentioned something about it's open mat. And I was like, for what? You mentioned at Apex, and I was like, fuck, is that like a martial arts gym? And you were like, yeah, man, definitely come down. I was like, what time? And you were like, nah, mentioned the times. They were arbos, obviously, like every other gym. And the open mat was in the morning, so which made me want to get down. But I was like, it's still a bit too late. I think it was 7 or 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But it was on a weekend, so I still had intentions to get down. But Ellis woke up early, couldn't make it. And then I remember messaging you, just going, man, the gym looks amazing, looks awesome. I just can't possibly get down to an afternoon session. It just won't work. And then you said, man, I'll just come train with you. And I just assumed it was like a one-off thing, like type of like most things, because we didn't know each other that well or anything. And I threw it out there assuming there was no way you would say yes. And I said the only time I could do was 5 a.m., which was what I usually was doing. And you're like, yeah, no worries. Met me down there. We got like probably one of my first sessions of jiu-jitsu in. It was no-gi. I was like, fuck, this is amazing. And then I was like, man, thanks so much. I assumed that was like a one-time thing. You're like, yeah, man, come in on Wednesday. And I was like, 100%. And then the following week, you're like, you want to come in on Monday? I was like, of course, but I don't want to put you out in any manner. And then you did it for week in, week out for the next, give or take, 3 to 4 months type of thing. It was just coaching me for those sessions, not getting anything for it, which, like I said before, could not thank you enough for that. And then Brocky came back from the mines and he came in, and then I was like, man, you're just coaching us at this moment, but surely if we put this out there, how many other people could there be that are parents,
so
tradies, business people that would just want the same thing? They're not looking to be the next John Jones or anything. They're just looking to enjoy martial arts. There must be those people out there. I was only talking to Daz about this the other day. The moment you guys put up that post on Instagram, he was literally rolling in a shed himself with a friend, Sandy, and he's like, done. Like, just came down straight away. Exact same position, just had a kid, has multiple businesses, working super hard, couldn't find anywhere else to do it, came into Apex. Then Simo came in,
Yep.
working as a tradie. Then obviously as we know,
snowballed, and now 5 a.m. class is awesome.
And things just snowballed, and then before you know it, like you get like 15 to 18 people coming in at 5 a.m. When previously thought no one would wake up at. You're effectively waking up around 4 to get there for 5 a.m. depending.
No one in the martial arts community does that, man. No one does. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh man, let's just rock up at 10 o'clock and we'll just train. And I just think maybe, I don't know what it was, man. Like obviously we connected, and I think you saw Jesse at a party as well that said come down as well. So it was 2 touch points.
I saw Jesse at Eddie's for a birthday party.
That encouraged you to come down, and then we obviously connected, and you know, I don't know what it was that made me want to do that. I think it was just, I don't know. I think we just connected, and and you asked me, and I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. So like, I would never have wanted to hold someone back from learning martial arts, and I was passionate about helping people and providing my own knowledge or whatever I've learned over the years and passing it down. But man, even you've skipped a lot of steps, which is cool, because there's a lot to the story. But while you were playing sport, you were also doing your exercise science degree that you graduated from. And then you were also the product development manager and did product development for Body Science and things like that for a long time. Even post Body Science, you were the product development manager for a lot of other brands, did a lot of consulting. And when you mentioned Cocoa Whip, for guys who don't know Cocoa Whip, it was like a vegan soft serve, like sort of ice cream alternative, which was awesome. Biscuit Cafe, for those of you who aren't on the Gold Coast, was the Gold Coast's most successful or sort of most popular health food cafe. And then you had a range of products and things like that, chocolates, protein bars, all sorts of things that ran off that as well. So you've been in the product game for a long time. And then you mentioned that, you know, I was doing a shoot for Body Science. I was doing the marketing for sports nutrition brands for a long time. So I was learning about products, I was learning about nutrition, I was learning about sort of innovative products and, you know, what people take for performance, for recovery, for sleep, for stress, and all these sorts of things. Maybe not as much on the scientific formulation side of things that I'm starting to learn now with you, but certainly on how we should sort of put those messages out for various reasons. And yeah, man, it's amazing how organic our story is to combine. And I want to obviously get to where we, you know, started thinking about, you know, combining forces, and then how combat got started.
For sure.
But what I think I'm interested to talk to you about is, like, we have different mentalities and sort of goals. You said yourself, like, you're very competitive. I don't think I'm very competitive. I think in some things I certainly am. From a physical standpoint, I've never been super competitive. So like, I'd love to talk about sort of your competition and the fact that you also trained with John Wayne Parr. You did a fight, you did a kickboxing fight, which was epic. And you've done heaps of jiu-jitsu comps, won heaps of state titles with us already, all these sorts of things, and you've continued down that path. You have interests now to continue down that path and have more MMA fights and stuff. I had one MMA fight, heaps of jiu-jitsu comps, heaps of like submission grappling comps and things like that. But I think my reason was a little bit different. So I'll go back to like when I was first meant to have my first MMA fight, and this is when I was still at Puma. And I was right in the middle of my legal career, and you know me, like, I'm just trying to hustle and get to the top of that career. So I was super busy. I was training four days a week with Vinny, hard training, thought I was ready. I was matched up with Tristan Murphy for my first fight. Wow. Absolute beast. Went on to be an absolute beast. At the time, he was a personal trainer, looked jacked as. I didn't care, you know, I was feeling good. Vinny pulled me out. And he was just like, no, you can't train with me 5 days a week. I need at least 5 days a week. It wasn't even about my skills at the time. It wasn't about my fitness or anything. It was more about my commitment. And at the time, I was just like so bummed, man. I was like, why is he pulling me out? It wasn't so far down the track that it was like almost time to fight. It was like way at the start. But I'd committed to it and all these sorts of things, to the point where we'd been matched up and stuff. And now I appreciate. I know exactly what Vinny was on about now. So that didn't go ahead. That was the first time I was like, yeah, I want to fight. And I think that everyone kind of has that when they're developing their skills, they're starting to get a hold of their skills. They're like, I'm getting good at this. Like, I actually want to test myself against someone else.
Yeah.
And then I got that sort of satisfaction from doing jiu-jitsu comps and then lockdown comps, which was like submission grappling in the cage and all these sorts of stuff. So that was cool. And then it wasn't until years later when I started training with Jesse Jess, who's now in the UFC, and Jules. So everyone knows Jules the Jackal, who was controversial but big in the MMA scene at the time. And they were in a relationship and we were training together, and Jesse and I were looking after their jiu-jitsu and MMA.
Jesse Yada, so people.
Yeah, and Jesse is one of their head coaches of jiu-jitsu at the Combat Training Center at the moment, and someone who I've trained with my whole sort of career. And that was awesome. I just knew that they would respect what I was saying more if I had gone through what they're going through. And I totally understand and appreciate that. I had no desire to fight MMA.
Yep.
I had no desire. I'm happy and proud to say that. I don't care. I've got nothing to prove. I don't have that competitive fire in me. It's just the way I am. But I was like, you know what? Nah. Like, I'm training these guys. I know that they respect me, and I know we have a great relationship, and we're all progressing together, and this is great. I'm in the sweatsuit with Jules. Like, I'm cutting weight with him. Every morning Jesse's there with him, you know, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. Let's just have a fight. And ended up having a fight. The dude who I've versed had 3 fights already. By this stage, I was a blue belt. He weighed in 3 kilos heavier than me, and Jugs was like, came up. He's like, I know you're going to be angry, but like, he's 3 kilos heavier. I was like, I don't care at all. Went in, had a great experience, felt super confident, and that was great. And had Jesse Jess and Jules and Jugs in my corner, and felt elite, and had a good experience, and that was that. And at the end, I was like, yeah, I'll do this again. And then years later, here I am.
Yeah.
And haven't done it again. Heaps of jiu-jitsu comps again, like I said, but just never had the crazy desire to get back in the cage and commit my life to that, because it takes a lot of commitment, as you know. And we started looking after Chelsea Hackett, who has made waves and, you know, progressed a lot in the sport. She came from Muay Thai. We started teaching her jiu-jitsu for a couple of years. And again, I was kind of like, kind of getting this fire back. Like, I'm enjoying talking this strategy and working through things. And now at Combat Training Center, we have just such an elite pro team. Some of the best guys in the world, from Shannon to Darcy to Jimmy, you know, lots of guys are coming from other gyms now to train with us. And we have, you know, a full mat of pro and amateur fighters. And, you know, you and I are bodies for all these guys, and pushing them and motivating them, and coaches as well, and things like that. So maybe the fire's coming back a little bit more, but I think it's kind of coming back because we're the owners of a combat brand, and, you know, I like to lead from the front. And, you know, if I jumped in the cage again, it kind of wouldn't be for me, sort of thing. It would kind of just be to show my team that's like, hey guys, for all of you guys who want to compete, let's go. Like, I'll lead from the front. I'll do this. So I'll get back in there again. But for now, I'm just enjoying being a body and helping the other guys train for their fights and stuff like that. But you had some good competition experience. Tell us about your sort of journey.
Yeah, man. I feel I'm big on dates, and I'm big on dates giving me an unbelievable amount of motivation to bring the best about you. Because without a date, I've always just felt like I may be it's not stagnant, isn't the right word, but unless I know there's something out there that's trying to be better than take something, whatever motivation I need, that really, really gives me a spark. It makes me work harder. It brings out the best in me. And I know a lot of people don't like competition because it can bring out the worst in people. It can also make people fold under the pressure. I'm one of those people that I feel the pressure brings out the best in me.
Yep.
So that's probably why I like it the most, because when I say it brings out the best in me, I'm not talking like a physically brings out the best in me or anything like that. I feel like as a whole, be it emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, it's when I'm performing on all cylinders, because you have to, because someone else is out there trying to be better than you, and you don't want to let that person get over the top of you, not only for yourself, part of it's pride, part of it's ego, part of it's self-worth, part of it's representing your gym, part of it's representing your family, part of it's representing anyone that's come before you. You just want to do your very best, so you put in the work. I find I put in my best work when and it's not even relevant to just martial arts, professional sports, rugby league or anything. It can be work. It can be for doing something for my family. It can be doing something for Jen, my wife. It can be doing something for my friends. So I've always found that to be a great motivator. The quickest way I thought I could do something like that, and I went from actually a tennis background to a rugby background to then going, I want to do something back as an individual sport after finishing footy. So I was lucky enough, in between the gap of meeting you and training with Brocky, to meet someone called Atkins. And I'm sure everyone's heard of, like, want to be a pro boxer or want to be a fighter. He had a program called Want to Be a Kickboxer. And I'd literally moved down the road from Boon Chew, which is John Wayne Parr's gym. So every morning, all driving home from work, but a lot of mornings I'd run down the hill, and that'd be my turning point. And I'd see Wayne always every morning running past my street. And to give you guys an example, by this stage Wayne's probably, I don't know how old he is now, but he's obviously like the OG of combat sports in Australia. Like, most accomplished, done everything, legend guy. So I see this guy running up the street, and my street is steep. Like, it's like a proper hill. And without fail, every morning, 5:36, when I'm coming back from my session, I see him going up the hill. So that motivated me to go down there and check out what was going on there. And I met Nick, and he had a want to be a kickboxer. And I was like, this is a great way for me to get a kickboxing fight in, get that next step. What I felt would be for me to get a level of competition that allowed me to get in there, mix it up, and see what's next. So I did that. Was great experience. Somehow, lucky enough, one of the few people to get Wayne in their corner. I don't even know how that happened. So that, like, I'm sure there's fighters all around the world that would give their right arm to have John Wayne in their corner. So that
you'll cherish that experience forever.
Like as an experience for a person that isn't ever going to be a professional fighter or anything like that, it doesn't get much better. So that was a great experience. Went out there. To be honest, definitely not the most skilled fight. I just know
it was a great fight.
Yeah, like for me, similar to what you said. You have a strategy, you play to your strengths. My strength is physical strength, and having probably more of a gas tank than someone else, just so try to get over the top of them. So that was like a really, really cool experience. From there, I always said doing that, I wanted to learn jiu-jitsu from there, because it's one thing to be standing up, but if a fight goes to the ground, then what? And I knew I'd be super vulnerable.
You're a complete guy. You're a logical guy. You want to know everything.
Yeah. And so
same as me.
Yeah, and it was kind of like started doing jiu-jitsu, just getting owned and wrecked by everyone. My strength didn't come into play, obviously, in certain aspects. It can help, but it wasn't. I couldn't even really speak the language. Like, there's no point being able to use the strength if you can't use it in...
Someone's using it against you.
Exactly, in the right manner. So I was like, I'm actually at a detriment here, because I didn't have flexibility due to becoming quite bulky and big and everything like that. So I committed with you guys at Apex to really just going, I won't even consider doing anything with getting into like having an MMA fight until I feel like I at least know what's going on there. And I asked you what that would look like, and you're like, if you have a blue belt, you at least know what's going on there. So I was like, cool. In my head, I hadn't even had the thought whatsoever of having an MMA fight until my coaches, being you, Jesse, Yaz, and Das and the guys said, all right, you can get a blue belt, which was fortunate enough to happen to me over the weekend.
Yeah.
So then that reset my mind to thinking, okay, now I want to take that next step and have the MMA fight. And again, not so much for, there's definitely no straight personal accomplishment of going, I'm going to fight another dude, I want to bash him.
There's no ego involved with it.
Nah, it's legit. Similar to you, have that aspect of, I own a combat gym. I will never be a professional fighter. I don't want to be a professional fighter. This is my profession, what we're doing now.
Yep.
Developing what I feel are the best products for combat athletes, creating the best environment for combat athletes, providing an ecosystem for whatever brands or products we do to grow into the best business as possible, and giving people the opportunities within those ecosystems to be the best version of themselves.
Love it.
Really, really lucky to be able to do that. I 100% know that I'm a lot better at doing that than I ever will be as a cage fighter.
Yep.
It's like I have mental aspects, I think, that transfer across well, be it like I won't quit at anything. Like I'll just never, ever quit. I don't have quit in me. But at the same time, I look at some of the stuff that some of the guys are doing there and just go, I can't do that. I look at someone like a Darcy or some of the other freaks that come through there, or Elliot, that have been doing this from day dot. Their bodies have now like manipulated into being able to do things that I can't do. The same way that I did tennis for so long that I can walk onto a court today.
The body mechanics are
all there. Nothing changes. It's just like I just go and do it. That's what they're like for this. And I'm just a rookie that's like come in there and just learning the system. But for me, the aspect of going and making a walk and going through the experience of the people that we try to elevate within the four walls that we have there, or our whole community, be it digital, web, anyone that buys our products, I want to be able to say, I've done that same walk, similar to what you said before, and I experienced this, which is something they've experienced, which means maybe what I'm talking or doing right now could be better for that experience. And maybe I can provide better advice, better service, better gym, better culture, better everything, knowing that I went through the 12-week camp, 10-week camp, did the weight cut, win, lose. If I won, this was the experience. If I lost, this was the experience. If it was a draw, this was what happened. This was the things I found challenging. These were the things that didn't vibe with me. These were the things that really did vibe with me. What gaps were there within our system of coaching that's happening there? What gaps were there within our nutritional products that I was taking through this period? What gaps were there through any professional services? Was there enough physio through Yoel there? Was there enough massage through Doe? Was there enough of a support system just in general? Did morning classes make sense? Arvo classes? Just so I can holistically say what we're doing is the very best of what we can try and do in this sporting landscape. And that's all I really want to do things for, just to provide and do our very best day in and day out. And the only way you'll ever find out whether you are doing your very best is, to me, I feel, putting yourself in the fire. Whether that's leading from the front, whether that's going through the experience, whether that's being there with the athletes, whether, like, as you know, there's so many things that we do that we're always the behind the scenes people. And I'm more than comfortable and prefer sitting in the behind the scenes space. Shannon's trying to get over to Abu Dhabi. We're up late at night trying to find flights and exemptions and talking to Danny on how we get around this system and the 48-hour lockdown to get there and the transfer from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. Like, we're naturally probably better fits for that stuff because it's just within our nature, because we've been the behind-the-scenes people for lots of brands. You mentioned the brands. We've probably done something behind the scenes for it rather than be the forefront of that.
We're kind of heading to that, you know, that natural discussion about sort of like where, you know, combat started, and people are getting a bit of a picture about who we are and sort of like, you know, why we've fallen into this position. I think one of the things that I really like talking about before we go into that is just I'm proud that we know our place.
Yep.
I'm proud that there's no egos involved in that aspect. There's so many people who really just want to be a fighter, but it's because there's no self-awareness there. It's not like, why can't you just enjoy yourself, enjoy training, keep progressing as a human, doing really well outside the walls of the gym. And when you're in the gym, you're just supporting everyone, you're coaching others, you're bringing others up underneath you, you're helping the guys who do want to fight, all these sorts of things. And that's how we feel. Like, sure, we've been there, done lots of comps, you know, all those sorts of things, being competitive, you know, but I know that our place is to support these fighters and to provide resources to them, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud to be a body for these guys, and to be able to strategize with them and talk to them about, you know, what they need to do for their fight and how they can progress, and just be another set of eyes in that way. But I think that exact place that we're in and what we're talking about is what led us to creating Combat.
Yep.
You know, not only the fact that we could have started a supplement brand ages ago. We deal with supplement brands all the time, but it wasn't until we're really training hard, we are competing, we're now dealing with a lot more members, we're seeing a lot more people on the mat each and every day. And it's from the guys like Lukey who come in just to get fit, you know, learn how to, you know, be better. He's a family man. He works every day. He works at the council, and he's just gassing himself out, and he needs some more nutrition. Like, he's lost 30 kilos with us since being with us. And now he's on a fitness journey, and he's coming home from work and he's like, man, I just don't really have any energy anymore. And now we're talking to him about nutrition and like better recovery and better performance on the mat, because he wants to come on the mat after work and feel like he's got enough energy to, you know, keep up with the younger guys. Or I think a lot of it stemmed from me burning out, you know, from coaching classes in the morning to coming here to the agency and working, and then going back and coaching at nighttime. You saw me burning out constantly. Like, it was literally like a revolving door. Every month I was burning out. And when I was talking about burning out, like proper, just like migraines, like bedridden, every 6 weeks, bedridden. And it was because my nutrition wasn't there, and I wasn't fueling myself or thinking about how to fuel myself with the best things. And then you were like, man, you should be thinking about this. You should take this. Hey, you need to focus on this. And all of a sudden, I'm personally performing better. I'm able to perform better at work. My relationship's better. All of these things just based on, you know, the advice that you were giving me. And a lot of the time, it's even things that you already know, but you just need that encouragement and that push and that direction, because you're just grinding. And it's the same for then all the way at the top, the elite guys. You've got Elliot and things like that. And guys like Elliot are pretty good with their nutrition. Like, he's aware of a lot of science and things like that. But, you know, guys like Shannon and stuff like that, they need this too. Yeah. So it's like you see them burning out. It's just like they're just training, and they don't have an off switch, which is a part of why they're an elite athlete as well. Like, they just keep going and going and going. So if they're at that stage, well, they need this type of fuel to keep going. So I think and I'd love to hear your sort of concept or idea of how it all came together. But then you and I sitting there like, fuck, man, like, they're really, what do I take? What supplement do I take? Oh, you can take this, but there should be something better. Yeah. You can take this for recovery, but this protein powder, like, it doesn't have everything you want, because you want some, you know, curcumin, you wanted some anti-inflammatory properties here, you know, you want this for your brain and your cognitive function, you want this, and hey, you need some nutrients here for this, and you need some electrolytes. Holy shit. We're talking about a lot of supplements here. And this is when you're just like, nah, I can do things better. Yeah. Nah, we can combine all of this into one protein powder. We can combine all of this into, one amino and an adaptogen formula. We can combine this all into a bar pre-workout. This is what it needs to be. We need to create something specific for combat athletes. Like, this is what we do day in, day out. We know what it takes to wrestle. We know what it takes to do jiu-jitsu. We know what it takes to kickbox, strike, have sparring sessions. And it doesn't even mean at the elite level. It doesn't mean we're, all pro fighters, sparring. It's just the everyday person who wants to do jiu-jitsu and just feel good, come on the mat after work, or, feel okay to wake up at 5 a.m. and do a session, then go to work and still feel okay to look after their kids and things like that. So it was such an organic process, and that's what I'm really proud of and love. And I'm interested to hear sort of like where, take us back. Like, what was the catalyst for all of this? Like, I can't even remember. It was just feel so organic. Like, it just sort of came together.
So I remember, obviously by this stage I had just started at the agency and had just also started training at Apex. So my feelings of soreness were really different. And I'm a person that's used to feeling sore from weights, feeling sore from impact from footy, which is usually like corks and bruises and that type of stuff, and stiff neck and everything like that. So I'm used to the feeling of sore. This was like a different feeling of sore because a lot of it was around like inflammation is the easiest way to describe it, because if you pull or tug at something, it's a very different type of sensation to lifting a weight or having something hit you with impact, but it's a body on body type of impact. There's a level of that, but it was like repeated different things. And I'd always been someone, no matter what, I'll try something on myself first and say, this worked for me. I'm not saying it works for everyone, but I'll look at the science behind it and go, there's science. I'll look at the science. I'll take it in the dosage or look at what it should be and then take it for myself and go, did it work? Yep. All right, I'll keep doing that. And that'll now be part of my ritual or regimen moving forward, full stop. So I was kind of on a journey of doing that anyway, in the aspect of I was working like so hard to try and keep these businesses going. I was getting no sleep with having a newborn, and I was trying to train, and I refused to let my health slip and drop off for that. I was like, the only way I will not get sick, and I can't even tell you, it's probably been like 15 years since I've had any type of sickness or anything, and last doctor visit was seeing a surgeon for my knee, effectively, which just got ruptured. So I definitely knew something was working. And so I started researching heaps of stuff around turmeric and curcumin, and then I started researching heaps of stuff around plant-based nutrition and its reduction in load on energy systems in terms of metabolism, and protein sources from that, and amino sources and electrolytes and everything. And so I remember training with you, and then we were on the same work cycle by that stage as well. So mornings, come in straight after 5 a.m. class, be at the office by 6:30, after having a quick shower, into it till 6:30 at night. You would fly off back to the gym to coach like a 7 p.m. class. I would shoot off home to put the kids to bed. Hopefully they'd get a good night's sleep. Usually wouldn't. Then I would be like, you would do obviously train, get home, be 11 midnight before you would get to sleep, and then back out there by 5. But starting, you'd wake up at 4 a.m. So both averaging around 4 hours sleep. But obviously I saw a difference in the aspect of seeing you get burnt out and sick. And then I'd be like, man, how you feeling? You're like, man, I've got a massive migraine. And I'd see like swelling in different parts of your body. I was like, try this curcumin, C3 complex to help with that. So I'd bring in tablets for you to just have on that. And you're like, oh man, that actually really helped. And then so the next day we do something, and I'm like, how you feeling? And maybe a week later or something, you're like, man, I'm starting to feel run down. I'm getting shit sleep. And I was like, man, you got to get magnesium into you at night.
I was calling you like the witch doctor at this stage. You bring olive leaf extract, all this stuff. But honestly, I felt so much better.
So then I bring you some magnesium and I say, man, take this directly after the session to help with, 1, inflammation, 2, you're probably magnesium, you're in a deficit anyway. I can almost assure you from your diet and just in general,
I didn't drink water. I wasn't hydrated. Yeah.
So then you take that and you're like, man, I slept a lot better. But I'm feeling like this. I was like, what protein are you taking? You're like, oh, I'm just taking this stuff that Holly was sponsored by. See, at the time you were getting free protein. And I was like, man, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with INC protein or the whey protein you're taking, but
I had gut issues.
Yeah. Exactly. You complain about feeling gastric upset a lot. Maybe take a protein that isn't as hard on your system, both as a natural protein, a plant-based protein that contains digestive enzymes and probiotics to help with your gut. And so you're like, all right, sweet, which one would that be? I was like, there's this brand that does this brand that does this. And then we were kind of going through it and I was like, I've now given you like, I think 6 different types of products. And you're like, do you take all these products? You were asking me. I was like, yeah, religiously. Like, I've got shit everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe you sparked it from there. Just going, man, why do you think there's not a supplement brand that's doing this to fix the gaps? And I was like, because there isn't a supplement company that's focusing on combat athletes, really, because why would that? Like, there isn't one. There isn't like a market that they've gone, there's bodybuilding and there's this, and they make money from that. So if it's strictly looking for a profit, it wouldn't make sense to them. Like, really, when you think about it,
you're totally right.
I'd look at it and go, and this is coming from someone that works behind the scenes on lots of brands, where you go, what's the market pool? We want general population. We want young kids that we can have as a customer retention for however long. And these people lift weights, and people go to gyms to lift weights, and they want to look good, and aesthetics is everything. So we'd appeal to that. Mm-hmm. There isn't the dollars in appealing to someone where nothing's about aesthetics whatsoever. They don't care on anything like that. This is strictly around performance in a very niche community that has X amount of people, that only X amount of people would take what you're talking about. And then on top of that, having to, if you want to appeal to the upper echelon, they get drug tested. So you have to pay for that. So there isn't the appeal from a financial point of view. So yeah, sure. I worked it out very quickly that there isn't bulk money in this. The person that would have to, or the people that would want to do this, would have to do it strictly from a place of passion.
I fucking love that we're telling this story. No one knows that.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that, like, put yourself in other people's shoes. And now that we're telling the story, and we've got an agency, and it's great business, and, you know, we've worked very hard to create what we've created, and we have a little business incubation machine here, and we're able to do this. But people would look at combat, and they'd look at Combat Training Center and things, and just be like, oh, you know, these guys are, you know, here just making money and doing this and doing that. And we've been accused of that before, man. Like, honestly, it's ridiculous, but that's just human nature. But now we're telling the story. It's just like, man, if you're talking about making a profit out of this type of business, this is a passion business. And for us to have what you're talking about, Reload was our first product, and it's a protein powder essentially, but it's more than a protein powder because we've got all of these other additions in it.
Sure.
And now when you start adding things into products, there's more cost, there's more ingredients, and each ingredient costs money. So that the more you put in, obviously the more expensive it gets.
Yeah, so sure. I mean, and this is just straight up telling the truth as fact. I know how to make a product look ridiculously mint and cost me the least amount of money. It was my job, like, effectively. Like, I've been in the system of sports nutrition, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of different things and different ways to do that. With this, 100%, we didn't do that because we were the ones consuming the product, where we were literally at the start kind of just making it in the aspect of
for us and our community.
For the 50 members that were training there of a week, and the boys of a morning, and additional people that wanted to get into it 100%. And feeling in a similar type of manner. We were literally just making a product for that, without the look towards profit, or without the look towards making this like a multinational billion-dollar type of business. Because, and this is again just speaking the true facts, I make a lot of other products, and there's a lot more money in making vegan chocolate. There's a lot more money in doing being granolas. There's a lot more money in a lot of other things
Yeah.
because we touch those products. But this was one that was really, really strong and true to our hearts, because when you go somewhere 5 a.m. every morning and you see the same guys and girls, you have a special bond with them, there is no way you would give them something that wasn't the very best that you could provide.
Yep.
It was just that wanting to really feed the people that we consider family the very best things we could possibly put out in a product. What ended up happening was just, I guess, a process, naturally attached to our businesses, that we have such a great team of people around us, such a great support network, great athletes, great community, that it appeared big
From
quickly.
the start. Yeah.
It appeared big quickly, and that's not a negative by any means, but it also paints the wrong perception around why something was done, and the people that we naturally come into contact with, just because we have done a lot of business in a lot of different areas, naturally accelerates a few things and makes things move quicker. Even to the point of the world is a lot smaller now too, with the likes of social media and things like that. So we started this brand, and all of a sudden we're chatting with Alex Volkanovski, and he's in the UFC. He isn't the world champion at this stage. Actually, in fact, very few people would have really known who Volks was back then. But
he was just starting in the UFC.
But through contacts and networks, and then we launched a product. Frankie came over from Thailand, and he had met Brocky over at Tiger Muay Thai, and then we do a wrestling seminar to kick things off. And because we have a marketing agency, we are capturing this content. We're probably a slight bit more savvy in how we can put out the stuff, and it looks legit. Obviously, like a lot of startups probably don't look like that because they don't have some of the resources we have that we're fortunate to have. So it makes it appear that this was just like this thing that these guys or people or whoever have money and they just tossed into it to make a profit or whatever it may look like, which is like completely the opposite of really the true origination of where the brand and the business started from, because it literally started at 5 a.m, you burning out, me giving you a multitude of supplements from what I will also say from some of the best brands that are out there that we work with. That was the other really cool thing, was that I was like, man, you need to take this from Switch because we work with them, or you should take this product from TNT because we work with them. But what we were doing was combining bits of all these other people that we work with, because they obviously weren't trying to create something specific for us. They have no need to. It's not within.
They had other passions and communities that they wanted to service.
Exactly. They're talking to their customers. We just realized that, hold on, who's talking to us effectively at that time.
And at that stage, it was kind of like Muscle Farm was probably big. Who else? Like, who else was sort of like Musashi was.
Yeah.
No, they weren't even trying to get in at that stage. They kind of like built into Rob and all that sort of stuff. Later down the track.
Yeah, there was a few, and the other thing on to top that off as well is Muscle Farm. You're right, we're doing it, but they were doing it in the States. We didn't really have anything towards Australia.
They were bodybuilding driven.
And so Australia. We were just like kind of, Australia was on its own island. But it was making its mark in combat sports, and as you mentioned, Rob before became like the first champ, and that kind of probably put the sport on the map for Australia. And then
Musashi were going through some shit, and they wanted just like to reinvigorate themselves, and Rob was making waves, and they connected with him, and that was cool. And it brought more light to the sport, to the general consumer. And you got, I just saw Israel Adesanya just signed with MyProtein. You've got guys like Macro Mike coming in and sponsoring guys. You've got True Protein coming in and sponsoring guys. Like, these aren't combat focused brands. These are just big general supplement brands that sort of support bodybuilding communities and all these sorts of things. And you know what? That's fucking cool. I'm the first person to say that's awesome. We are Yep, we're a sports nutrition brand that's dedicated to to a combat athletes and combat athletes only. And we classify combat athletes in heaps of ways. You know, we're starting to broaden out and you know, talk about everyone having their own fight. You know, we've got guys who are veterans who have, you know, been in war who we're supporting. We've got guys who fight in the cage. We've got people who just, you know, fight through life, have kids, just want to find their way on the mat just to get their piece at the end of the day and get their training in. So, you know, we cater for a lot of people, but having these other big brands come in and sponsor fighters and things because, you know, sports nutrition brands, they want a piece of the pie. They're trying to put their fingers in all different industries. It's a good thing because it's just bringing more resources to our industry. And that's what we've always tried to do with combat. Like we've always just tried to create a business and a machine that gives back and provides resources back to the industry and keeps growing it. And honestly, man, I fucking think we've done it. I think we're doing it. I really, really, truly in my heart believe that at the smallest level and for how long we've been going, we've already provided a lot back to the community, whether it's sponsoring an Eternal event, whether it's sponsoring a Destiny Muay Thai event, you know, supporting UFC Gyms Australia, whether it's supporting our athletes, you know, getting a supporters shirt for an athlete, you know, providing all the proceeds to our athletes, helping them connect with managers, you know, setting up the combat training center, you know, and trying our best to make that the best training facility that we can, all while supporting other gyms too. Because, you know, you need this whole industry to survive, for us to be successful. And so, yeah, man, I actually like that all these other brands are coming in and, you know, supporting all these other athletes because the general consumer or, you know, is finding out about nutrition in that way. And they're realizing, hey, I'm not fucking eating enough protein, you know, during the week or in my day, and I need to. And if it's a supplement, you know, product that's going to allow them to hit that target because of convenience or because of whatever life factors, which, you know, makes them gravitate towards taking a protein powder as opposed to getting protein in their own diet, that's good. It's a good thing. And it's making those people come into, you know, understanding nutrition better. And you know what? The next time they think about, oh, I need some more protein, they're going to see combat and go, well, I'm a fucking combat athlete. Why am I taking this? I've been introduced to this and I know that I need a protein powder now. Let's go with these guys and support these guys who are supporting me back. So I actually think in a roundabout way, it supports us having these big brands come in and
sure. I think, I also think the other big thing is that I explained to my parents are always a great platform for me to talk to because to them, they often think I'm crazy with the things I'm doing. They're like, you got a great job, you got this, and why like start a gym where people beat each other up and do all this type of stuff? I'm like, it's definitely not that. And when I know something makes sense when it clicks for like my dad or mum or anything like that, and the way I try to explain it to them was like, I just view this as a vehicle that can promote change within an industry that a lot of things rarely change. But you look at someone like what the UFC did as a catalyst for this industry where like my wife Jen will never ever want to be involved in a fight. Obviously, she loves the UFC. She loves mixed martial arts. She would know most of the fighters on the roster. It's very rare where she said, I don't know X, and then she'll actually find out more about them. That's a great thing to bring so many different audiences and communities to watching a sport. The same way, and they use the vehicle of, and don't get it twisted, they're a fight promotion. They use a fight promotion business as a vehicle to create a business, but create an ability for everyone to earn from it. Like, we're not sitting here without the UFC. A lot of martial arts gyms around the world aren't around because of the UFC. A lot of athletes don't have, well, definitely the athletes in particular don't have platform. And I know I see people going at Dana White and people going at the UFC and people, and
he's created the ecosystem for everyone
this
to
wouldn't
survive.
be possible without what they did. And could they pay the fighters more? Sure, they maybe they could, maybe they don't. I don't actually know the back end business workings, particularly of that.
Yes,
you just hear the rumblings and you hear this, but I know for a fact that the facts that I do know is that none of this exists without that. So you have to give credit on that level. And they use the vehicle. I see a lot of other brands, communities, voices using different vehicles, and I think they're all doing it in such a great way that more should aspire to doing things like that and using a vehicle. Our vehicle's nutrition. We use nutrition to help elevate the people, be it athletes, be it staff members, be it just general fitness members, be it other gyms. We have the vehicle of nutrition because we know that best.
Yep.
And we can use that, and we know it can help. So we use that as our vehicle, and use something like Combat Strong as an initiative or a campaign where we used it to raise funds for gyms. None of that had anything to do with nutrition.
Yeah.
Like it simply didn't. It was an initiative of a proceed of sales of what we can do within, be it merch, be it nutrition, goes back to gyms to help their gyms. And we feel people become better humans after going in and out of those gyms, and those gyms were taken away for a period of time with COVID and everything else we're dealing with. So I guess really, for me, the biggest sense of pride and being around this business is the fact that what we do from a nutritional standpoint not only can help people get physically better, mentally better, whatever, all the different aspects around nutrition that we know, but we have such a great platform that can allow other people to join the ecosystem of martial arts in general. And I'm not saying it's MMA, I'm not saying it's jiu-jitsu, I'm not saying it's taekwondo, I'm not saying it's judo, and it may not even actually be participating in the sport at all. Like they may never ever touch the sport at all, but someone looks at that and goes, oh, that's cool. Like I now know a bit more about nutrition, and I also recognize that Aaron Blackie or Elliot Compton or Volks or someone that I otherwise wouldn't have come into contact with is like a legend type of person. They're a great coach. They're family men. The sport is about respect. It's about doing your best. It's about being disciplined. It's about providing back to others and teaching others like a different way and path. Well, then like it's a win. Like it's just such a massive win. And I feel we're obviously doing our best in doing that, but every week, every month, we get a bit better at it. Another year will go by, we'll be a bit better again, and we'll keep building the brand, and we'll keep pushing anything that comes our way back into the brand, because we're not here to take. There's enough taking in the world. We're here to provide support to the people that just we see bust their ass every day doing their very best to chase a dream of being the very best in the world at their craft, be it Shannon, be it Tank, be it Darcy, be it Jimmy, be it Elliot, be it Alex. All the people I mentioned are at all different parts of their journey, but if we can do something in a small way to help that journey, well then, just like super stoked to be involved in that process.
I love that, man. I love that so much. I think that's the perfect way to end this first episode. I hope it gives people a little bit more of an insight into sort of who we are and what our mission is, if they don't know us already. And then in terms of this podcast, like I really, really want to provide value to our audience. And that could be in the way of hearing your thoughts about product development, talking about protein, talking about the basics of nutrition, talking about performance, getting our head of strength and conditioning, Ryan Gambin, to come and chat to us, talking about, with some of our athletes, just providing a really good sort of hub where people can come and listen to combat sports, feel better about it, get better, and like you said, just create a platform that provides some positivity and some change and some value. So really, really happy to be on this journey with you, man.
Nice, man.
And let's just
start of a good one.
Yep. Let's just keep pushing out those good vibes and
good to go.
Keep grinding.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for
team.
listening.